Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending our next class, class number 4. We're more than halfway done already, so glad you're all sticking around for this wonderful program. So like I mentioned before, we'll go ahead and briefly go through housekeeping rules. Just make sure if you have any questions or anything, just drop them in the chat. We'll be answering them at the end, but if there's some time, we'll answer here and there in between the class today as well. And with that being said, make sure you just have your mics off, so that way to prevent any feedback or any background noise from happening. It'll help, it won't distract anyone else during the class. So at this time, we'll go ahead and just have everyone kind of introduce themselves really quick, first name, last name, company, and something that you're looking forward to learning from today's class. And then I'll kind of just mention, who goes next. But also, if you had any questions from last class, I know we do the homework exercises to kind of help you practice, what you've learned from each class. So please do share if you have any questions or comments or concerns. We're more than happy to help. Just send us a note on that. But I know people are still kind of trickling in. It was a holiday yesterday, so we'll just go ahead and do the first round of introductions, and we'll go ahead and get started with the presentation. So at this time, let me start off with Evelyn. If you could go ahead and kick it off for us. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. I'm Evelyn Vega. I am owner of Staffing Strong. We're a national recruitment company, and we focus on placing qualified professionals in the marketing industry. It could be marketing, digital, creative. We also have a division in engineering, and we also place HR professionals. And we place them on a contract to hire basis and permanent basis. And I'm really excited about this since we are serve as an HR function, our company. Of course, want to learn more best practices about recruiting so it can improve our company. Also onboarding so we can help our clients. Also help our clients about retaining employees. And then also learn more about compliance, because I know HR laws have changed in every state and it's crazy. So I'm looking forward to learning more about that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Evelyn. We'll continue on with Jimmy Rios.
Hi, good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Awesome. My name is Jimmy Rios. I am the owner of Next Level Business Concepts Group. We are a local consulting firm helping business owners get to the next level with their business and facilitate everything from business planning to funding and just organizational management. So just here to help you get to the next level.
Thank you, Jimmy. We'll continue with Henry.
Hello, good morning. Do you guys hear me good?
Yes.
Okay, hi, good morning. My name is Henry Alexander with Splash Mobile Wash, and we are a commercial, residential, mobile, and fleet washing company for vehicles and fleets. We go valley-wide. We've been in business about 2 years. So we create waves because we believe that the time is very precious for everybody. So we keep your car nice and clean, and because a lot of times this is what falls to the bottom of the list. So we go no pressure. Just give us your keys, and we'll take care of your vehicle at your work, at home, while you're babysitting or anything you have to do. Again, this is Henry with Splash Mobile Wash, and that's it.
Thank you. We'll continue with Luis Castro.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Luis Castro. I'm the Vice President of Process Control and Engineering. We're systems integrators. and we specialize in automation. We also build, industrial control panels for companies. And I'm looking forward to this class because, I'm definitely want to learn more about the compliance, recruiting, pretty much all that stuff. Because we HR wise, our company, I would say, we could definitely improve.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Luis. We'll continue with Lisa. Unfortunately, her mic and camera don't work, but she does say here in the chat, hello everyone, Lisa James, or hi Miss Toon, with Carolina's chocolate. Chocolate reminiscent of my heritage and the Southwest. I'm here to get help on communicating with my help. Thank you. So thank you so much, Lisa. We'll go ahead and continue with, let's see, Linda Valenzuela.
And hair designer. I'm the owner of Linda Valenzuela Salon and Mia Cosmetics. I'm really excited about this class. I don't have any employees right now. I have subcontracts, but I would like to learn more because in the future, that's what I'm planning. And by the way, I love last class. It's very interesting, and thank you very much for doing this.
Thank you, Linda. We'll continue with, let me see, Yasmin Venegas.
Sí, muy buenos días. Hola a todos. Les habla Yasmin Venegas. I have a media and translation company. We develop a lot of materials to help the companies communicate with the Latino market. Of course, this year has been very slow. All of the interpretation services on site are canceled. So, but these classes are really helpful for us to, start thinking in a different way and see what new services we can offer. So thank you so much for doing these classes. As Linda, I do not have employees, but I work with a lot of subcontractors here in Mexico. So this class for sure is going to be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasmin. We'll continue with Imelda.
Hola, buenos días a todos. Mi nombre es Imelda. I'm the founder of Imelda's Capitamales. And then we sell hope and to empower victims of domestic violence. So, order tamales next time with my company. And then I'm so excited to be here and to learn. I don't have full-time employees, but I do have one part-time employee. And so I'll be very excited to learn more about this class. And I truly enjoyed each class. I'm learning more, and I just feel better equipped with all this knowledge to scale my business. Thank you.
Thank you, Imelda. And we'll go ahead and continue with Mabel.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you for your time again today, and looking forward to the HR-wise session. Even though I don't have employees as well, it's always good to stay in the loop. My business is Spotted Horse Info Systems, and we do website specializing in WordPress, and we also do graphic design and basically some business support services. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. I think that's everyone in the program. I'm sure we'll have some people trickle in, but for time purposes, we'll wrap it up with this portion here. I just wanted to give a little shout out to all of our staff who's here. Angie, Eric, Izzy, Saria, Christina, and I think Lexi was on as well. So thank you all for being here as well. But with that, I'll go ahead and hand it off to Marwa. She is with HR Wise, and we'll continue on with the class. Up until 10 o'clock, we'll have a little break, a 5-minute break. So make sure to come back after that break, and we'll wrap it up for the last 45 minutes or so of the class after that. So thank you so much, and feel free to add any questions in the chat box. Thank you.
We're actually going to start off with Derek, if that's okay.
Oh, absolutely.
I would like to say something first. Greg O'Keefe, owner of HR Wise. I want to thank the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for giving us this opportunity and to help these other partners of the chamber understand HR and give us a few minutes with each one of them if we can. And then I want to thank you for the grant that you had given HR Wise. I really appreciate it. Helped us so much. And to all the vets that are out there, thank you for everything that you do for us.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Greg.
Thank you, Greg. I appreciate that. Kind of stole my opening thunder because basically those were all my bullet points, was to say thank you to Elizabeth and Cirilla and Arizona Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for putting on such a great event. It's very nice to meet every one of you. You guys have some amazing businesses. I definitely want to learn more about the tamales and how we can get some of those chocolates over to the office. So very exciting, and I appreciate you guys letting us come and speak to you guys today. Like Greg mentioned, during the pandemic, our business was struck hard as well, and ACHCC was there to help us with the grant, and so we really appreciate them. Can't say enough good things about that organization and the people that support it. As mentioned, my name is Derek O'Keefe. I'm the president of HR Wise. HR Wise is an outsourced solution for payroll, bookkeeping, and human resources. And today we will be speaking on some great topics. Mara, if you'll go to the next slide for me, please. Yeah, so we got some great topics, as you guys know, around human resources, strategies for recruiting, selecting, and retaining talent, and standard operating procedures when it comes to hiring and onboarding your people. Okay. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about HR Wise just briefly so you know who we are and who your presenter is. So a little bit about us. HR Wise was founded in 2008 and is 100% minority owned. I'm sure you're familiar with professional employer organizations, PEOs, where the PEO offers its services as a co-employer or through a co-employment relationship where the PEO owns the employees and all the benefits. We are not that. We are an administrative service organization, an ASO. The ASOs offer their services as an outsourced solution where the client still has full control over their employees and benefit offerings. So we're a little bit different than a PEO, and we're there to help support you guys. So we have roughly 200 plus clients processing over $100 million in annual payroll each year. Our mission is to help businesses focus on growing by removing the distractions of payroll, human resources, and bookkeeping functions. And I'm going to introduce our wonderful presenter today. She is our Director of Human Resources at HR Wise, Marwa Morsi. She is a driven HR leader with over 25 years of progressive HR experience, 13 of which were in corporate America and 12 in the private sector. She specializes in employee and labor relations, HR compliance, various HR trainings, including new hire experience, harassment and discrimination, policies and procedures, performance evaluations, employee handbooks, and much, much more. She handles all of our HR consulting and services here at HR Wise. She's fantastic. She received her Master's of Science degree from the University of Laverne in Leadership and Management in Human Resources, and she is currently working on her PhD in Industrial and Organizational Psychology at Grand Canyon University. So you are in great hands, and she's going to be the one leading us today. She has a ton of great information, and again, Greg and I thank you for having us on today and letting us share a little bit about HR and how to onboard and recruit and stay compliant with getting new employees. Thank you, and Mara, you can take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you, Derek. Everyone, thank you so much for having me present today. I was really excited when I heard about this opportunity because I get to share what I love the most, which is HR and HR trends. And wherever there is food, tamales and chocolate, I'm there. So Derek, save me some when you get them. All right, so the objective for today is to cover all aspects of recruiting and hiring, as well as compliance. Can someone please let me know if you could hear me just fine? That would be great. Derek, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so with recruiting and hiring during this crazy times of a pandemic, it should come as really no surprise that the sudden onset of this COVID-19 has transformed pretty much everything, right? Everything from home to work to companies, how we manage our businesses, how we manage our people, and that does not, it includes also how it transformed the recruiting process overnight, basically. While recruiters and hiring managers are still adjusting to this new norm of conducting business, a few new trends have emerged that HR leaders across the nation have experienced and made it work for their business that I'd like to share with you. Now, recruiting is such a huge topic, as you guys know, so bear with me. I do have a lot of information to share with you, and I'm hoping that the time allotted will be enough for it. Today, recruitment is almost entirely digital, right? Because we are working from home, social distancing, but it's almost entirely digital and virtual due to social distancing. As a result, many of us have to practice careful communication with candidates as a key factor because we do not have that face-to-face interaction readily available to us anymore. Nurturing these candidates and keeping your talent pipeline engaged in the process and keeping them active with you with creative content, like branding your content, your recruitment content, keeping it exciting, keeping them engaged is crucial in maintaining a presence among these job seekers who are not only are looking at you for employment, but they are probably looking at a whole pool of other companies who are also hiring at the same time. Let's face it, with so many companies gearing up their hiring efforts for the holiday season, maintaining a strong presence is what will make you noticed and pique the interest of your candidates. So let's talk a little bit about the importance of employer branding because a lot of HR professionals don't really have that on the top of their mind. But as a business partner, an HR business partner, keeping your employer branding abreast during the recruitment process is going to be crucial. People want to work for companies that they can be proud of, right? They want to be able to brag about their new employer, about their new job, about all the great benefits that you're offering them. And that starts with the branding and how effective your branding is. Therefore, the most important thing for an employer is to build their employer brand and make the vision and mission of your company crystal clear. And I've worked with several people where they don't have a grasp on that yet, and it's really hurting their recruitment process. Because let's face it, when a candidate is looking for a job, they go straight to the employer website. They go and see what their reviews are on Yelp or Google reviews. And if those things are not in sync and are visually appealing and up to current standards, most likely that candidate will go somewhere else. So with the branding, it should start with your company's career page. Is it branded properly? Does it speak of your company's history, vision, and mission? Does it highlight why somebody should come work for you? Does it provide a simple way to apply for a job, or is the application process lengthy and cumbersome? And there's a lot of companies out there who make it so difficult to fill out an application that they lose great candidates because of it. Other thing to ask, do you have a high review ratings, as I mentioned earlier, on Google, Yelp, Indeed, Facebook, and any other social media platforms? Because candidates do look for these things when they're deciding who to apply for and who to go work for. So depending on how you answer, these set of questions I just brought up, your career page may need to be revamped, streamlined, and properly branded to be more appealing to the candidate pool. So typically there's, 3/4 of job seekers or applicants consider a company's employer brand before choosing to apply for a job. So they look at all these things, your career page, your what do you offer for benefits or perks? What are your reviews are like? They look at all these things before they decide to apply for a job with you. However, with the majority of the world stuck at home, basically, and online traffic on the upswing, since the start of the pandemic, obviously, you can confidently assume that even more candidates are thoroughly researching your company online presence and reputation. So this would be your first line of defense. What is your presence like online, social media, as well as your career page? At the very least, focusing on employer branding during the pandemic will better position your organization for when the job market does return to normal. As more employers ramp up their efforts and individuals restart their job search, your employer branding efforts will be preemptively put your company on the map or off the map. So as a result, candidates will know who you are and be more open to your opportunities, and they're 40% more likely to apply for a job if they recognize your company's brand. That's why we will see more organizations focused on building website sections dedicated to the company's mission, employee life, stories of the owners, if it's a privately owned company, and other relevant employer brand content. Actually, it's something that HRWise has done for several of our clients. So career side branding is something we can help you with. And we've successfully done it for many of our clients. Preparing to return to work. This is something that, now that the election is over, and I don't want to bring politics into this, but there may be a swing or a shift in preparing to either return back to work or stay remote. So since most of us are remote now, I'd like to just focus on that. The transition to remote work is largely being viewed as a testing ground for more prominent telecommuting trends in the future. More and more companies are realizing that, hey, you know what? Our employees have been working from home. It's been cost effective. We don't have to pay leases or bills, utilities. It might be a better business model for companies out there. So the challenge with that, though, is that recruiters aren't waiting until the dust settles to adjust accordingly. The same survey I mentioned earlier, where I apologize, where 40% of the applicants are more likely to apply if they recognize your company brand. It also states that 85% of recruiters are actively working to adapt their process to work remotely. Recruiters are used to meeting with your applicants face-to-face. So this whole remote recruiting tactics is very new to recruiters. So they're having to put some creative processes in place to still capture the applicant pool and keep them engaged when it's not face-to-face. So not only does this accommodation allow recruiters to continue hiring despite social distancing, it also allows them to cast a wider net when sourcing and open up their talent pool to multiple geographic locations. Ultimately, this can improve hiring outcomes and can reduce your cost per hire as well. But still, right, there's always the but. Remote work opportunities are likely to remain popular among employees well after the return, after we're able to return back to the office. In fact, 43% of the full-time workers in the United States already say they'd like to continue working from home after the economy reopens. It's really time to lay the groundwork for a long-term permanent work from home policy. So business owners, it's something that you do need to think about, that this may be the route the workforce industry is moving towards. And even if you do maintain an in-office presence, being able to work flexible work options, schedule options, will appeal to candidates and help you fill high priority positions if you do provide that flexibility. And by the way, writing a work from home policy is something that we can help you with as well, if you don't have one established already.
Can I ask you a quick question? This is Evelyn. I'm in staffing.
Hi.
So thanks for staff on this, because I always tell my clients, if you are open to remote working, you will open a lot of doors to a lot of other great talent.
I agree.
Yeah. And it's good to know to write the remote work from home policies, because I can send you some clients because they need help with that.
Wonderful. I believe we have our contact information on one of the slides. If we don't, we'll get that to you.
Thank you.
I like to jump over to virtual onboarding and e-learning, because that seems to be, the trend now and where things are heading if we are continuing to work from home. Call me old school, but interacting face-to-face with new hires is something I highly believe in, right? It's something that it keeps that interaction going. It brings that human factor into it. And, it's a way for you to build that rapport. But again, with social distancing, I had to adapt, as I'm sure as many of you had to adapt to onboarding electronically. So now don't forget, onboarding is the final stage of the recruitment process, and it begins the day a new hire accepts your offer, not their first day on the job. So with human interaction removed from the equation entirely, recruiters and HR teams are pushing their efforts into overdrive to make remote onboarding as effective and as real as possible. It's something that, like I mentioned earlier, I like that face-to-face interaction. So it's something that's going to take getting used to. And us as hiring managers have to be flexible and open to these new virtual onboarding processes with our new hires. A solid onboarding process can improve retention rates. Actually, it's by as much as 82%. It's amazing how the effect of onboarding can have on the new hire. It's either going to make them stay with you, or it's going to make them leave within the first week of them starting with you. And new hires onboarding sequence is their first official introduction to your company and your team. So having a well-established one will make a huge difference with your new hire. And a poor experience sends a lot of new hires, basically packing within the first 3 months of the job. And I'm pretty sure that some of you have experienced that when a new hire does not have a good first onboarding experience, they tend to leave. With the shift to remote work, the need came up for virtual learning, which requires video conferencing softwares and additional digital resources, such as employee engagement tools, and all these things, equate to business expenses. So that's something that you're going to have to take into consideration as well. E-learning platforms are available at HRWise and can be tailored based on your needs. So if that's something that you are looking at, please let us know. When it comes to sourcing candidates, I can talk about sourcing candidates all day, right? For days. It's one aspect of my job I truly enjoy because it does have that human interaction, right? It's a positive, wonderful experience for both the recruiter, the hiring manager, and the applicant themselves. But in order to recruit top candidates, you really need to have an idea of where and how you are going to source them. Finding the right candidate takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot more than posting a job description or waiting for someone to apply, unless you're willing to wait weeks or months for the ideal candidate to land in your inbox. That is, it's something that's going to take you a long time to accomplish to get that perfect candidate. Instead of focusing your candidate search around your gut feelings and your assumptions, optimize your time, money, and recruiting efforts around targeting the ideal candidate. So you're going to actually be going out and targeting that candidate, not waiting for them to come to you. You need to find them. Again, it's a lengthy process and time-consuming process, but it's the necessary process for you to find that right candidate from the first time. How do you do that? You start by creating an ideal candidate profile, right, for each of your roles you're hiring for. That could include the roles you plan to fill in the upcoming year. Future planning is what I call it. It can also have to include, obviously, what you're looking for now. Then you'll be able to identify the best ways to source candidates. During your search, do a deep dive into where your competitors are sourcing their candidates from. They may be using sources that you're not aware of, and you want to capture those candidates that they are looking at as well. While there are many, there may be a lot of competing employers on job boards out there, networking platforms and social media sites are actually sourcing opportunities your competitors, a lot of competitors are overlooking and they're not thinking of using. They're using the traditional job boards. So if you're not utilizing social media to your advantage, it's something that I highly encourage you to look at doing. Additionally, there's an algorithm and trends that dictate who, where, and when candidates discover information about your company. And they're complex, to say the least. So keeping up with them will help you stay ahead of the curve. You can do this by taking a class on sourcing or utilizing professional service like HRWise, where we can do that work for you. But it's as effective as it is, it's an extremely lengthy process. And I know a lot of business owners and hiring managers just don't have that time. All right, so how do we do all this but optimize your recruitment marketing strategy? There's several ways that I'd like to review with you today. Optimizing your career page. I kind of brought that up earlier today because I truly believe your career page is where your candidate first goes to learn about your company. This is critical for search engines. One of the things to include on your career page is a section about, the perks and benefits you offer employees. A lot of career pages I look at fail to mention that, what do we offer you besides a paycheck, right? And this is something that the younger applicant pool are looking for. And I'll share some more information about that with you in a little bit. So using specific keywords like 401k savings or paid time off in your headers will help traffic from candidates who search for those keywords with your company name. When you optimize your career page for search engines, it is not only the first result on the Google search, but is in a featured snippet box off to the side. I'm not sure if you guys had an opportunity to do that, but it's a pretty cool tool that brings you up front and center, which it means it appears before all the other search results that are done organically. So yours pops up. Social media recruiting, again, I can't stress enough how important social media recruiting is. It's the trend, it's the now, it's the today, it's the hip thing to do. Given the popularity of the continued growth of social media recruiting is actually, it's one of the best ways to get the message out about new openings, promote your company's culture, and put a friendly face to your organization. In fact, there was a survey done last year where it shared that more than 1 in 10 recent hires, which equals about 14% or so, found their current role through social media. Now that's a big market that you might not be tapping into if you're not using social media. Not only that, but many job seekers check out company social channels to learn more about the culture and company environment before deciding to apply for a job or accepting an interview invitation. It's very important and very influential when you're on social media and you've got current employees write great reviews about your company as an employer, about their managers being excellent leaders. So that would be something you also want to encourage your employees to do. Write a review. Perhaps there's an incentive around writing a review. Whatever it is that, however you want to roadmap it, reviews, positive reviews make a huge impact. The way you have your social media presence make a positive impact. And it's something that we can help you with if you need that. And in many ways, recruiters are brand ambassadors anyways, and social media is yet another venue that they can use to promote your company to a larger talent pool. And if it is remote work, like Evelyn mentioned earlier, you're reaching a nationwide applicant pool versus just where your current location is. The next avenue is recruitment events, and I love recruitment events. I think they're exciting. I think they're fun. But with social distancing and things are shutting down, we have to be flexible with that and maybe shift our thinking process of from being an in-person recruitment event to maybe a virtual recruitment event. Hiring or recruitment events they're notorious among candidates, right? And it could be a great hiring event or it could be a really boring hiring event, right? It depends on how you guys position it. But believe it or not, recruitment events are making a comeback, and in a big way. But not only as your standard job fair, which to me it's they're not really effective. Because you're there competing with other employers. But if you have a hiring event that is specific to just you and your company and bring a lot of excitement and jazz around it, you'll have no competition. It's just you there, and your candidates are there just focused on you and your organization. Companies are getting more and more creative with their hiring events and how they incentivize candidates to attend. In fact, companies have begun hosting events at, and again, this is going to differ based on your location. But they began hosting events, at hip local restaurants or in the office where you set up the conference room in a theme, perhaps a Vegas theme or a Caribbean theme type of activity. Obviously, there's an expense involved with recruiting events, but it's important to create an experience that reflects the mission and value of your company and the culture of your company. This will increase retention. That's the bottom line, right? It will give you a great applicant pool, but it will also increase retention because now your candidate is super excited about working for you, and the culture that you've created within your organization. Create a fun event and invite some of your current employees. You know, who better is equipped to talk about how wonderful it is to work for your organization than your current employees. So invite some of your current employees to attend these hiring events. This helps boost the attendance among your current employees. It helps them be part or feel like they're part of the process, and that they're valued, and their opinion counts, which further reinforces the type of culture your company has and provides candidates with more opportunities to meet with these prospective colleagues, right? I mean, what a great way of doing that. Let's see what else. Also, you know, in a world where, you know, social media is one of the top sources for people to obtain and share information, making your event Instagram friendly, for instance, certainly isn't going to hurt your employer brand, right? Provide attendees with cool swag. You know, if you have pens, t-shirts, paperweights, what have you, providing them with cool swag that they will want to share with friends and, you know, sport in public. I know some of our clients, when we visit them, they do gift us with some of their swag, and we wear it out. We promote their business. We constantly, you know, sharing client services with each other, which at the end, it helps everybody, and it's a win-win for everybody. Let's see. This will, you know, providing the swag will boost your employer brand and get people talking about the event and your company. You know, word of mouth, as you know it, is viral, and it can be a huge positive impact on your brand and your company. I mean, talk about grassroots recruitment marketing, right? Above everything, you want to provide your candidates who are attending with a memorable experience that makes them feel welcome and apply for a role, or at least join your talent community to learn about future roles, right? That's the ultimate guide here. If anything, and this is how I look at every candidate, and that's what I share with all of my clients, if the candidate does not join your team as an employee, you know what? You may have captured a customer for life. So you need to look at it from that perspective as well, right? If they're not your future employee, they're going to be your future customer or future client. Let's move on to perks and benefits. Not sure if you guys know this, but did you know that 89% of 18 to 34-year-old employees care more about great perks and benefits than they do about pay raises? I find that interesting. You know, I'm going to go off topic a little bit here because I have a couple of teenagers, kids. It's the same thing with their age group. You know, they're more interested in social media and having cell phones than getting a driver's license and getting a car. So the thought process and the trend of how the younger generation are looking at things have drastically shifted from when I wasn't looking for my first job. So it's amazing how trends have shifted over the years. And this year, you know, a new trend report came out showing that the perks and benefits candidates will be looking for include financial wellness, mental health care, student loan repayment or tuition reimbursement, transgender inclusive health care, technology benefits, family planning, flexible schedule, I mean, you name it, commuter benefits, paid leave, even pet benefits, you know, medical benefits for their pets. 20 years ago, it was all about how much is the starting wage. You know, you guys, I'm sure some of you are with me on this page, but 20 years ago, it was like, how much are you going to pay me, right? I don't care about anything else. I want to know how much you're paying me. Well, not anymore. Anyways, like I mentioned earlier, it's one thing to provide exceptional perks and benefits, but if candidates aren't aware of them, it's like they don't exist. So optimizing your career page and utilizing social media to promote your perks and benefits to attract more candidates will be the route to go. Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of water. All right. Again, part of the shift in thought process, where before employers are, let me tell you, I'm the employer, I'm going to tell you what I expect from you. Well, the shift is what candidates expect from employers. They expect a work culture, a great work culture. They expect diversity and inclusion. And what has the pandemic affected on these two items? So work cultures, there's no doubts that millennials and now Generation Z, I wonder what the next generation is going to be called, but these two generations have significantly altered the workplace as we know it, or as we used to know it. Unlike generations in the past, they set high expectations for employers and really don't care to establish a several decade career at one company, like we used to. I want to work for a company, I'm going to be there for 20 years, I'm going to retire. No, not the younger generation. They have no interest in having that long-term tenure with one company. Instead, these generations care about companies that offer flexible work schedules and time off, create meaningful careers and promote diverse and inclusive workplaces. All very important topics, right? And some of them are even fall within labor relations. So basically, they are more interested in what type of work culture you have built within your company. The key to a successful organization is to have a culture based on a strongly held set of beliefs that are widely shared and supported. So if you have these beliefs, but you're not sharing them as the top leaders of the organization, if they're not sharing it constantly on a daily basis and living by them, it's as if they don't exist. When an organization has a strong culture, three things will happen. Employees know how top management wants them to respond to situations. They know what the expected response, that the expected response is the right one because they know what the culture is, and they know what they will be rewarded for demonstrating the company's values. So it's very important for leaders within the organization to constantly speak of company cultures and what their mission is, what their vision is, and set the example for others to follow. I will talk more about culture later in the presentation, but for now, I'd like to move on to diversity and inclusion because this is a huge topic now, and it can have some legal ramifications under employment relations. Diversity inclusion has in the last several years been included as part of the harassment training for the workplace. So that's why I'd like to spend a little time and talk about that. More than ever, candidates care if companies actually foster a diverse and inclusive culture. So much so that a study showed that 2 out of 3 candidates actively look for companies that have diverse workplaces. Not only that, but 85% of CEOs whose work culture and are diverse and inclusive notice increased profit. I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? When you've got a diverse workforce from different backgrounds, from different cultures, from different work experiences, from different industries, the wealth of experiences and the wealth of information that they bring to your table is going to be great. It's going to be huge compared to hiring the same type of person with the same type of experience. While this is a major topic among recruiters and HR professionals, building a diverse and inclusive workforce doesn't happen overnight. It's a long-term process. It takes months or even years in some organizations of hiring the right employees and fostering a workplace where everyone feels welcome and included. Now, some companies may think that they are too small still to focus on diversity and inclusion, but and actually think that it's best to wait until they are a bigger company. But I will tell you, I mean, I'm going to confidently say that this is absolutely the wrong thought or approach, because changing a culture is significantly harder than building one. So build one now as a small or medium-sized business. Build it now and let it grow and flourish than waiting till you're a certain size of a company to start it. It'll be just so much harder to do it that way. By taking time to focus on diversity and inclusion, now you'll begin to notice improvement well into the new year. So when candidates ask you about how diverse and inclusive your company is during the recruiting process, you will be able to provide them with concrete evidence and how your culture is improving its diversity and inclusion efforts. So definitely something to think about. Now, what have been some of the effects of the pandemic on this? You know, with a staggering 20.5 million jobs were lost in April when the pandemic hit, and 33 million Americans seeking unemployment benefits since the start of the pandemic, many businesses continue in the technology, healthcare, and financial service industries to bring on employees. So the challenge that I've been seeing, of course, is recruiting and hiring remotely. How can a hiring manager get a sense of an applicant over video? You know, it's for me personally, it's not easy. How do you communicate daily life at your company without a physical on-site visit? And how can you, as the hiring manager, ensure that the person you brought on to work remotely during a pandemic will fit in well once you're back in the office? One way employers are trying to ensure they find the right people during this time is doing more due diligence, you know, especially since it may be harder to get a good read on a candidate solely over video or the phone. By asking due diligence by asking open-ended questions and telling questions. What I mean by that is, you would phrase the question with, tell me about, your day, for example. Tell me, how do you run your day-to-day tasks? So have them tell you and ask open-ended questions. The answers to a prompt like that may reveal how self-directed a person is, for example, how flexible he or she may be, etc. I think I saw a hand raised. Are we taking questions now or at the end?
If you'd like to answer, we have, I think Imelda raised her hand. We could answer one.
Okay.
Hi, it'll be very quickly. I understand the importance on diversity and inclusion, but how about when then you are focused in the Latino? I am a Latina, and when I hire, when I have huge orders, so the hiring process is for me to hire someone for just one day, but those are victims of domestic violence. I don't care whether they're female or whether they are male. But it's important for me that they are, if they speak the language, and then that they are Hispanic. So it's kind of hard sometimes when you're trying to focus, because it's important also that you hire those that understand the culture. And for me, diversity, it's like you have either males, females, white, black, Hispanic, but sometimes not all of them fit into the business that you are doing. I mean, I'm correct, or am I confused?
No, you're absolutely correct. And it's gonna be, it's gonna be based on your business, right? So some businesses are, that's what they are. They're Hispanic businesses and they cater to the Hispanic client. So obviously in that case, your employee base needs to mirror that. So I'm speaking on the general terms, right? On something that would fit all industries. But if your business is that specific and that detailed, you're absolutely right about, you know, hiring the employees who will best fit your business needs. So, you know, thank you for letting me clarify that.
Thank you.
All right, so let's move on to onboarding. There are new hiring trends that are happening right now. There's new onboarding trends. I'd like to share with you some onboarding strategies that hiring managers and companies have started using or have been using that I think are very effective. So with new hiring trends, the traditional 9-to-5 job, you know, work days are gone in most companies now, right? Especially when more people are working from home. At the same time, according to the, there's an association called the American Staffing Association. According to them, 16 million temporary and contract employees are hired throughout the course of the year. So clearly, temporary workers make up a big part of the US workforce. 34% of all of US professional workers, you know, people who are in a higher level positions, performed contract or 1099 work starting last year when they were losing their jobs. So they resorted to being a contract worker or a 1099 worker. So clearly professionals are opting to work on a contractual basis out of necessity and need, especially now that there's little job security in the current economy. What all this means for your hiring efforts is if you're finding it difficult to hire full-time employees, it may be worth looking for you know, those contract workers or those 1099 workers instead. It all depends on what your company's needs are. So this is, you know, this is some of the change in work patterns that we've been seeing since the pandemic. Data-driven recruitment, I'm not sure if many of you know about data-driven recruitment or are utilizing data-driven recruitment, but it's another trend that hiring managers need to keep on top of to understand their recruitment process and the cost effectiveness of their recruitment efforts. With more pressure to hire the right people, both cost and time efficiency, many organizations have turned to data to help them make smarter hiring decisions. When I worked in the retail industry, and I was in it, you know, almost my entire career, it is particularly useful if you're working towards key metrics, right, as a recruiter. For example, you may want to measure your hiring velocity, which allows you to get actionable insights on various positions throughout your company. And it also allows you to allot the proper time required to fill roles with qualified candidates. This will allow you to see how efficient your hiring process is. On the other hand, you might look at your hiring budget to ensure that you're not overspending on your hiring campaigns, because it can definitely become very costly, these hiring campaigns. So if, you know, if proper budgeting is not in place and you're not following the data, you will be wasting money on ineffective recruitment efforts. So whichever metrics you track, you'll need to start gathering and analyze this data in order to do it, you know, to do your recruitment effectively. Applicant tracking systems, and I don't know if any of you are using applicant tracking systems, but they make it easy to track this data. But since this is an extremely cumbersome and time-consuming task, you know, not just posting a job, looking through resumes, looking through applications, reviewing the data and the metrics, it's all time-consuming. You know, calling the candidates, leaving messages, doing follow-up calls, scheduling for interviews, second interviews, you know, all of that is a very time-consuming process, which, you know, your alternative is that you could utilize, you know, service providers such as HRWise to streamline and manage your applicant tracking system and hiring for you. The type of data you might capture during this analysis would include, and it's what I would highly recommend you look at, is how long it takes for applicants to complete your application form. Also, how many clicks does your job post get before you get an actual applicant to apply? How much return on investment you're getting on your recruitment tools, and so on. So these data-driven metrics will help you analyze your recruitment effectiveness and make changes when necessary. Ultimately, you'll want to use data to make informed decisions, and it's going to save you time and money, and of course to make sure you're getting the quality hires that you need for your organization. Now, all of this is great and dandy, right? But what really matters here is the candidate experience, right? Because their experience will either let them apply or make them go find another company to apply for. So candidates have, candidates over the last few years have held the power in the US job market, and sometime, you know, somehow now, and while this might be about the change as unemployment rates soar, the candidate experience is still very important. If you're wondering what I mean by unemployment rates soaring, I'm referring to the, there was almost 49 million Americans who filed for unemployment benefits since the pandemic. So even though there's a lot of, you know, and it's getting lower, right? These as companies and businesses open up and they start rehiring, this unemployment rate is getting lower, which making the market very tough from a candidate availability standpoint. So this is pretty much common sense, right? If the candidate has a positive recruiting and hiring experience, they are more likely to accept your job offer. And believe it or not, your company's reputation and financial stability matters a whole lot. And for that reason, this is a key hiring trend you need to be on top of. This is especially true as there are more avenues for candidates now to air their experience with your company online than ever before. So if they have a bad experience during the recruiting and hiring process, guess what? They're going to take to social media. Whether it's social media or employee review sites, people aren't afraid to share any negative experience with other prospective candidates. So, you know, I highly recommend you implement a positive recruiting process and make sure those who are involved in it, including your hiring managers, are providing that excellent positive experience. Because again, as I mentioned earlier, if they don't end up being your employee, they will end up, they may end up being a client of yours or a customer of yours. So by now you might be wondering what makes a positive candidate experience, right? I mean, we could write a book on this, but we were limited on time, so I'll share a couple of thoughts here. It all starts with your job posting. You need to write out your job posting with the candidate in mind, right? How is the, you know, what do they want to know? What does the candidate want to know? What would make them want to apply for your job? Using engaging language and break the copy up, you know, the actual text up with bullet points so it's easy to read. If your job post is poorly written or doesn't make sense or it's too verbatim, too long, you will have 0 to very little applicants applying because they will go somewhere else. You then need to think about the application process and next steps. I mentioned earlier avoiding a lengthy and cumbersome hiring process, right? So if applicants have to jump through a number of hoops just to show their interest in the role, they'll probably say forget it, you know, and move on to the next company. Simply, if there's far too many rounds of, similarly, if there's too many rounds of interviews, And we all know that, there's companies out there that have their candidates go through 5 different interviews before making a decision. If there's too many rounds of interviews, they may lose interest and go with another employer who's willing to offer them, the job quicker. Ultimately, communication is the key. Once again, when I'm speaking with candidates, I see it as a relationship building experience. I mentioned earlier, I love it. I enjoy that face-to-face or that, person-to-person communication. So I really see it as a relationship building exercise. In order to get candidates interested in the role and your brand, you need to put the work in, and it's time consuming. But it's something that it's part of it. It's something that you have to do. Acknowledge applications, keep them up to date throughout the hiring process. And don't wait too long to offer the job, because if they're not just applying or interviewing with you, most likely they're applying and interviewing with many other companies. So it's kind of like early bird gets the worm, or if you snooze, you lose. It's the same concept. So it's really a win-win. It's a win for you, and it's a win for the candidate with their experience. Hiring during the pandemic, I spoke earlier about the dynamics and recruiting and hiring remotely, right? And how that changed the applicant and hiring managers' experiences. For companies that previously tried to stand out by, tooting their fun office perks, or their lavish, and I'm talking, about some companies I worked with in California. They have beach volleyball courts on site, and they bring office pets or provide free lunches, etc. All these things are great. They're great perks. But with remote working, these perks are not relevant. So the new hire pitch needs a significant overhaul. Because short of an expensive workplace and swag, a company's culture, mission, and career development are bigger draws for remote work. So that's definitely something to think about as well. Outsourcing. I'm not sure how many of you use outsourcing services, but they can definitely be a time saver and be more cost effective. So how can outsourcing your recruiting efforts help you? With the global economy changing drastically, obviously it has become extremely difficult and extremely costly to recruit and hire the right candidates. There's a huge war out there for talent right now, and finding and hiring the right people in this kind of recruiting environment requires keeping up with new recruiting technologies and like I said earlier, social media, developing relationships with successful candidates, asking the right questions, and so on and so forth. But who really has the time to do all that right now? As business operators and business leaders, your focus is on, how do we make it through this pandemic? How do we stay, profitable? How do we navigate through the what seems to be changing rules and regulations every day? How do you do that? And you do it through, outsourcing your recruiting and hiring process. Busy hiring managers and employers have been able to achieve their hiring goals by outsourcing recruiting. And it's a very effective tool. Cost containment and the need to focus on core business operations are at the top of my list of several common reasons why outsourcing is more effective for companies. Outsourcing all of your recruiting or just part even of your recruitment process puts the responsibility in the hands of experienced recruitment consultants, because that's all they do. So their experience will greatly benefit you. And again, HR wise, we have the experienced individuals who can do that for you to save you time and money. Some other reasons employers choose to outsource recruiting includes several things. I need to improve recruiting processes, which you may not have the time to do. Reduce a high turnover rate, which we'll review in a little bit here. Control rapid growth or seasonality that makes it impossible to keep up with the hiring needs. So if you're a business that ramps up for the holidays, that's what I'm talking about. Develop competitive advantages and coordinate recruiting and onboarding processes with this outsourced service so that you don't have to task yourself with it. Do we have any questions so far?
Yeah, I think we could answer, we've gotten a few, and then we could just do a brief little 5-minute break afterwards.
Sounds good.
Perfect. So the first question looks like from Linda. If you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you. So Marvi, this is great information. I have a question for you. I have been trying to hire part-time and it's very interesting because I've tried social media, I've tried the local, the smaller networks and stuff, and they don't seem to be working as far as quality of people go. I've had a significant, I would say at least 90% that approve and agree for an interview and then just no show. And I'm trying to put all the points together that you're speaking about, saying, people who have filed for, people who don't have jobs, and, I don't understand what's going on. I've had the posting looked at by multiple business owners giving me their input, and any advice at all on how to get quality through posting on social media?
Social media is very targeted marketing, and without seeing how you are targeting your postings, it'll be hard for me to answer it. But it's definitely something that maybe we can speak one-on-one off-site, but it's very targeted. So and again, it's going to be hard for me to tell you,
right, because
I don't know how you have it set up. But are you targeting the right demographics? Are you the right location?
Yeah, and I'm also offering them the ability to just work remotely as well, and all of that stuff, and even make up their own schedule if they need to, but trying to be as appealing, so to speak.
Right. So, and looking at all the other aspects I mentioned, your career page, your website, reviews about your company online. It's a whole evaluation that, we almost have to do for us to reach the root cause of why you're not getting applicant traffic or the right applicants you're looking for.
Okay, I'll reach out to you after then.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Great. Henry, looks like you had a question.
Yes, hi, good morning. Great information on this meeting, but I've got a question for you, Mara.
Sure.
The reason that my question I had was how many of us in the actual participants that we are here now use actually 1099s and W-2s? Because sometimes, I mean, based on the experience that I've had before, a lot of times we were in the perception that we could treat contractors just like I'm off the hook, I have no liability, they do their own thing, but I'm actually the one who hired. And the reason I'm saying is because in 2014, I was sued by someone who called me out vicariously liable. And a lot of these participants that were here, we do use a lot of 1099. So now, after the experience that I had, or the bad experience that I had, every contractor that I get, I actually make them sign a contract. What are their responsibilities? How far can they be liable, or how far can I be liable? Because it can get pretty pricey. And I know a lot of you have not had this bad experience, but that's one of the reasons that I want to what I did learn from that bad experience was that every contract, for instance, the gal who has the salon, that she hires 1099s. Well, what if she cuts someone with a knife? What if she cuts someone with, or accidentally hurt someone with while cutting with scissors? You know what I mean? How can you help us, or how far can you help us when it comes to this matters?
So 1099s, and I applaud you for having them sign a contract. I mean, that's something that has to get done. Even when you hire a W-2 employee, right, you have them sign the employee handbook. So setting that expectation in writing, what they're liable for, and you know, what your role is as the company, what their role is as the contractor, and have it in writing, having it signed, is going to be your saving grace. And you know, I will have to see what this contract says and what it looks like for me to be able to answer you. But with anything you do in business, there's going to be a liability, right? That's just business, and there's going to be a cost to it, and it's just the cost of doing business. The point here, Henry, is how do we minimize this liability? And that's what we can help you with.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, in my case, I have attorneys, but not everybody has that fortune that we have the attorneys available. And that's what I was saying. You as a company, how can you help the participants in this room not to go, or possibly not to go through what the hell that I went through? You know what I mean? So, and that's why I kind of wanted to create this awareness that a lot of times we have that perception that, oh, he's just a 1099. I'm just going to cut him a check and I'm going to let him go. Well, not really. If he doesn't file taxes, you're responsible for his taxes at the end of the year too. So there's a lot of things that I wanted to know. How far can you help us, or in this group, how far can you go as far as, oh, we can write up contracts for you, we can help you doing this on the 1099, not just on the W-2 area.
So we can definitely write contracts for you. If you know, we've got resources, because that's what we do, right? That's the business we're in. We can definitely write your contracts. We can even run your payroll. We are also a payroll service. We started as a payroll service, and we're, you know, we added, you know, the HR service, but we can run your payroll for your 1099s or all your employees for you, and ensure that the proper reporting and tax reporting is done. But yes, there are laws out there that pertain to 1099s that both the employer and the 1099 employee have to follow. And we can bring awareness, or even have another class of what that is for you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely. Is there any more questions?
Henry, there's a 10, I know on the IRS Gov site, there's a checklist that you can have people fill out.
Yep.
So if they don't fill out the checklist right, then they're not really considered a 1099 employee. You'll have to W-2 them. So like for us, being a staffing company, of course, we use that all the time. And a lot of states require them to even have workers' comp insurance for their company. So if they don't have that, then we won't hire them as a 1099, just for that fact. But I mean, HR Wise is a great resource, because they can help you with writing up those contracts, because those can be tricky too.
Absolutely. And believe it or not, different states have different regulations when it comes to 1099s. So, you know, it's just to keep that in the back of your head. I'm not sure if all of you are Arizona based, or if you have subsidiaries in different states.
Great, thank you so much. Great questions. Just for time purposes, we'll do our little break here. We'll come back in 5 minutes, and then we'll answer the rest of the questions once we come back. I do apologize for missing Everardo in the introductions. So I'll have him briefly introduce himself, and I know he did have a question that he put here on the chat. So Everardo, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, good morning.
Perfect. Good morning. My name is Everardo Lakimi. I own Photo Fusion Studio here in downtown Phoenix. It's a photography studio that is made up of currently a lot of 1099 employees. So this is extremely helpful for me. And I do want to kind of follow up on, it sounds like I'm in a similar situation that Henry was in. So I want to make sure that I have the correct contracts in place. I am running payroll through Gusto. So at least I'm collecting their W-9s and things like that. But as Henry kind of alluded to, if I'm still responsible for it at the end of the year, I want to make sure that I'm kind of going through a checklist to make sure I'm safe in this regards.
Absolutely, Gerardo, and that's something that we can help you with as well. You know, we'll put up our information, our phone number, and website that any of you can give us a call, and we can speak with you about your needs.
Great.
Does that sound good? Okay. I do have, you know, a few more slides to go through, and is it okay to keep going, or is there more questions?
I think that was the last question. We can go ahead and continue going, Marwa. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. So with all the information I've shared so far, you know, I would like to go into the importance of effective onboarding, because again, this is aside from the, you know, phone conversations or online meetings with applicants, the onboarding process is going to be the critical piece that would help the new hire determine whether, you know, they stay with you or not. So their experience during the onboarding process is going to be crucial for many reasons, you know, retention rate, job satisfaction, and ultimately the employee's performance. So, you know, how do we use onboarding to increase retention rate? Great employee onboarding can improve your new hire retention by 82%, and that's a huge percentage. And it could also improve the productivity of your new hire by over 70%. However, 88 of new hires don't believe that their organization do a good job of onboarding. So that's the downfall here. And that leaves a lot of room for improvement. Again, it's definitely something that HRWise can help with. Most organizations have stopped their onboarding process altogether just after, you know, the first week. You know, the first week you're onboarded, even some of them are even after the first day. Onboarding is done, boom, you know, you're on your own as a new hire. This leaves the new hire feeling confused, discouraged, have no idea what they're doing still, and they haven't had the opportunity to acclimate properly to your environment, to your organization and their job. So based on my experience, it's not really a surprise that organizations are not doing a good job with onboarding when all activities are completed so quickly due to lack of time that you could dedicate, due to lack of staff that you cannot dedicate to training and mentoring new hires, or a dedicated budget for that matter to properly onboard new hires. So, you know, it's truly a process. It's truly a business thought that you need to work through or think through and put together a procedure for onboarding. You know, a week is hardly enough time for any new hire. You know, me and you both. It's hardly enough time to become acclimated to a new company, culture, or even the job itself. In my opinion, and I have practiced this for many years, and it proved effective. And I'm sharing it with you. Is the best employee onboarding programs extend through the employee's first 90 days. I know that might sound a really long time, but trust me, in the long run, you're gonna have a happy, well-productive employee that stays with you for a long time. And based on the position and the level of the position, that 90 days may even need to be extended out, you know, for several months to ensure that the new hire are fully supported as they reach their full productivity potential. Employees who have a, I don't know what else to call it, but a negative onboarding experience are twice as likely to leave and look for you know, other opportunities somewhere else. And I'm not sure if you all know this, but the average U.S. U.S. employer or company spends about $4,000 and 24 days to hire a new employee. With a negative new hire onboarding experience, your new hire will walk away, will walk out, and effectively double your cost and time to hire. So every time you lose a new hire because of poor onboarding or poor training and follow-up with them, you just lost $4,000 and 24 days that you've invested into recruiting this person. Once you look into the cost of these vacancies, lost productivity, let's see what else, and the impact on morale, losing an employee so soon after they've been hired is actually much worse than it appears on the surface. And I know a lot of hiring managers don't look at it from that perspective. That's definitely how you should look at it from a business perspective and a cost perspective. If you're facing these challenges with your employee onboarding program, please know that you're not alone. A lot of companies out there are facing that because they don't have the experience or the resources to establish a good onboarding process. And once again, I offer HR-wise services to help you with that because we have done it for several of our clients, and it's been very effective for them. So positive onboarding leads into job satisfaction. I believe that job satisfaction will be an organic product of everything we just discussed, right? If you have great hiring experience, great onboarding, great recruiting, then naturally and organically, you're going to have good job satisfaction from your new hire. Investing in a comprehensive onboarding process ultimately means investing in your employees and their job satisfaction. In fact, research shows that employees tend to form fast opinions about the job during the first few days of work, which means for you, that those early days are a crucial time for employee retention because most turnover occurs within that first week of employment. So ultimately, the more time that you're willing to spend on initial training and orientation for your new hires, the longer that new hire will have job satisfaction and tend to stick around, which leads to optimum employee performance, for you. And what does that look like? What does optimum employee performance look like? As an employer, one of your main goals should be to have employees who are productive, obviously, right? And be able to do their job to a high standard and your standard, and hopefully exceeding that standard. Building a team of friendly, talented, and creative individuals is your main goal. It's the bread and butter of your organization. Without them, you basically have, no services to provide. So what can you do to get there? You need to help create an environment that is rich in employee satisfaction. It's not a secret that high job satisfaction is also linked to high performance and high profitability, those employees who feel happy and content in their job are much more likely to approach the tasks that they need to carry out with enthusiasm and dedication. And that's going to translate to customer service, to, again, how they carry out what you're expecting them to carry out, and so on and so forth. And it will also increase their loyalty to you, right? Loyalty is another positive that comes along with job satisfaction. Your employees will feel a link to your company, right? They are part of it, they're invested in it. And they will also recognize that any work that they do for you will have an effect on the overall success of the company. And it's no longer just, about them. It's now their thought process is about the company as a whole. They will be less likely to move to another, to another job or another company, and may even recommend your business as a workplace to work. Again, word of mouth is, whether it's about working for a company or word of mouth about your products and services, that's how businesses grow. So having that positive experience with the employee can translate to that. Now, I'm not saying, you know, to you know, create bells and whistles and, you know, give them the world. No, you know, just focus on the things I mentioned earlier and create a fair, respectful work environment. As long as you're fair and consistent with everybody, you know, work performance and employee performance will soar. Some of the new onboarding trends out in the market right now is there's this, you know, pre-boarding. What does that look like? Personalization of your onboarding process and socialization. Earlier, I touched on new hiring trends and effectively onboarding. And there are new onboarding trends that have gained a lot of traction lately that I'd like to share with you. First off, presenting your pre-boarding activities gets future employees excited to work for your company. So send these activities before or after a candidate accepts a job offer. Doing it electronically is even better, right? Because, you know, some of us are remote work, you'll work remotely, and getting these things electronically done will be more efficient and shows your company as a technically advanced employer, which appeals to the younger generation, as I mentioned earlier. Giving you know, the first steps of onboarding, of the onboarding process to candidates on a, you know, everybody has a smartphone now, right? On a mobile device, sending company merchandise, you know, swag to their home, or sending motivational text messages about how excited you are about them joining your team, and so on and so forth. And that's what I'm talking about, pre-boarding, keeping them excited, keeping them engaged, you know, showing them that you are valuing what they will be bringing to the table. These steps show your company's willingness to engage with future employees and your commitment to having them on your team. So, you know, something as quick as an encouraging text message, I mean, that will go a long way and has proven to go a long way with candidates during the pre-boarding process. It really makes a new hire feel wanted, right, and appreciated from day one. Now, personalization, this can look different for every company, right? So it's going to depend on your culture and your mission and how you want it positioned. But personalization is an ongoing method that can enhance the productivity of an employee. The cool part is that there are various ways you can choose for personalization, like creating workflows, right? That help your employee learn new information on how to become successful in their new position. Other personalization examples can be, you know, a personalized video from you as the business owner, as the CEO, a personalized video to that employee on their first day of work. You know, how cool would that be when, you know, they open their first email from the CEO or the business owner and it's a personalized video directed to them. Online training videos is another way to personalize their experience. It shows that your commitment to their training and development and their success within your organization. You could put together a guide, to, you know, while working on while working at your organization, what roadmap can they take to be successful? Explain the importance of their role, overview of your company's policies and procedures. You know, things like that creates that personalized experience that new hires, you know, don't often get but need to get. I mean, do these things and you'll be the hero in your company, right? What company sends out personalized videos? So imagine when you do that, you know, how great your new hire will feel and their perception of your organization will be. Socialization, we all, you know, you're not probably thinking, you know, how is socialization possible with remote work and social distancing? And I get it, right? Well, it's very possible to have it with a little imagination and flexibility. So let's think outside the box, right? Socialization activities typically have been, you know, meeting in the boardroom to introduce your new hire, or taking them out to lunch, or things of that nature. But these activities increase the relationship building between employees and their coworkers. If employees have good relationship with their coworkers, they're more likely to enjoy the workplace, number one, and enjoy doing their job and stay with your company longer. So how do we get creative, right? Create events like virtual team lunches, right? Virtual buddy programs where, you know, the new hire is paired up with a mentor or a buddy, and they can set up daily or weekly or bi-weekly virtual meetings as a check-in point. You know, hey, how's it going? What can I do to help you? Things of that nature. Mentorship programs to reinforce your company's values and help employees thrive. These programs, you know, obviously, ideally in person is best. However, with social distancing, you can create a virtual, you know, why can't you create a virtual team lunch? That would be so cool to have. Some of the onboarding strategies, and I won't talk too much about this because we've already discussed many of them. For the sake of time, you know, I'm gonna skip some of them and skip this and go into the retention, because this is a huge topic that I think a lot of companies are struggling with right now, and hopefully we can you know, have some conversation around it. But retention, you know, there are several aspects to improving retentions. You know, training and development, obviously, right? Well-trained employees tend to stay. They understand their job better. They feel productive. They feel like they're contributing, and they go home happy knowing that they accomplished something, right? Training development, it starts with the onboarding and orientation process. You know, but you also have annual performance reviews, which are critical. And if you don't have those, I highly recommend you start. It's something that we HRWise can help you with. A mentorship programs or a training program, which is the same thing, and ongoing training after that first 90-day period or that first probationary period. What is the ongoing training looks like? Do you have a training calendar, you know, a 12-month training calendar by position? These are critical things that will help you improve on your retention. The other aspect of it is company culture. And again, we talked about that a little bit earlier. You know, perks and benefits, you know, what besides, and some of you may not offer these because of your size, which is perfectly fine. But for those that do, you know, besides health benefits, what other perks do you offer or can you offer your employees? You know, can you offer discounts on things, tuition reimbursement, childcare? I have a client who offers transportation to some of their locations because of the demographics of that location. They offer free shuttle service. So these are all perks that, you know, based on your business model, you can offer for your employees. A new trend right now is wellness offerings. You know, do you offer a wellness program? Do you offer a walking club during lunch hours? You know, and this can be virtual too. You just have to be creative and flexible. I have a client who just opened up an amazing wellness center for their employees, where employees can with qualified registered nurses on hand, where they offer free flu shots, you know, free COVID testing, a gym, you know, they offer a gym. So these are all things that, you know, again, may not be conducive to your business models, but it's ideas that you that you can work off of. And of course, recognition and reward system. I mean, who does not want to get recognized for the amazing job that they do, right? And this does not have to be monetary recognition, right? It's nice if it was, but daily recognition, daily good job, daily I appreciate you, daily you did amazing on this project. These little conversations go a long way, trust me on that. And employees will feel that sense of pride every day they hear, recognition from you as the business owner. All right, the last portion of what I would like to share with you guys is compliance, SOPs. Excuse me, need to get a sip of water there. But creating a standard operating procedure, especially when it comes to recruiting and hiring, will ease your new hire into their role while lessening the load and the burden and the accountability. Let me take that back, not accountability, but the legal ramification on you and your existing staff. Here's a tried and tested strategy that will help you grow your workforce without negatively impacting your operation. Standard operating procedure is going to be the process in which you and your managers, so it's not just you, it's a collective effort of everybody following to make sure that you're consistent in your practices, which again, I do want to highlight that if you are not consistent with your practices, it leaves you open to lawsuits, and it's just the legal ramification. It's not worth it. So establish that consistency and expect all your managers and your leaders to follow your SOP to make sure that you're protected at the end. If you do not have an SOP established, again, HR-wise, that's something that we can help you establish. So why do you need an SOP? The first thing a new hire needs to know are what their role is, right? I mean, how can they perform for you if they don't know what their role is? They also want to know how they will fulfill that role. What tools are you providing them for them to be successful in fulfilling that role, and where they will fit into your organizational chart. Providing this information will always take time, right? It's sitting down with people, taking time out of your busy day, sit down, having that conversation with them is time consuming. That's a given. Earlier we discussed onboarding being a 90-day process or beyond, right? Yet the more time you spend, so it's a balancing act. Let me start it off with that. It's a balancing act. You want to spend the right amount of your time with your employees, but you don't want to spend all your time with your employees, obviously. The more time you spend onboarding a person, the less time you have as a business leader to develop tasks and that will help grow the company. So it's a balancing act. The 90-day process is a must, right? But as they progress through the 90-day process, there's a lot less hand-holding. There's a lot less follow-up. But they need to stay in that 90-day process for them to be as acclimated as possible and as comfortable as possible for optimum performance. Ideally, you want to minimize the amount of time you spend onboarding beyond the 90 days while still providing them with the maximum amount of support and information so they can do their job independently. An effective onboarding SOP will help you and your managers achieve this objective. So, that's something that you need to keep in mind. It's definitely a balancing act. You can't just, leave them alone because they will not be successful. But you do need to spend the right amount of time without affecting the other parts of your business operationally. Creating an SOP, the first step is to define your new hire's role if you haven't done so already. And that's mainly through a job description, right? A well-written job description. I suggest breaking down the role into tasks. When you need to outline how the person will complete these tasks, right? You will then need to outline how they need to complete these tasks. For example, I don't know, just top of my head, example, a graphic designer, right, might need a list of branding guidelines for your company. What color schemes do you use? What is your logo look like, etc. They might need instructions for using, you know, some sort of a task management system. They'll need login credentials to your stock image library if you have one. They might need credentials for an Adobe Creative program, you know, and so on and so forth. Along with these role-specific requirements, you will need to list the tools, you know, every employee will be using, because they won't know unless you tell them, such as a time clock. You know, if you're having your new hires clock in and out, you know, list that on the SOP. Cloud storage or file sharing apps, the HR and payroll system that they will be, you know, using, or a password management tool. So you're giving them the tools via via a SOP, so that the information is shared consistently between everybody, and there's absolutely no question on what the expectation is. Your onboarding guide should also have a perhaps a frequently asked questions section, right, that you compile through the years, which includes pertinent information such as the names and contact details of leaders within the organization, contact detail of your HR department or your payroll department, because employees will have questions pertaining to HR and payroll, and you don't want them coming to you when they have a resource to go to. The process for requesting PTO, you know, what does that look like? Put that in your SOP, and where to order office supplies, et cetera, et cetera. Now, enforcing the SOP, that is where a lot of employers struggle. Again, because it is a time-consuming process. You can have all the best policies and procedures in place, but if they're not enforced, it's like they don't exist. Leaders must follow up, follow through, train and retrain and retrain and retrain and hold employees accountable at the end of the day for not enforcing the SOP. And you as business leaders need to do the same with your frontline managers. If they're not following the SOP, you obviously need to hold them accountable as well. Establishing a well-designed employee handbook will encompass a lot of these SOPs, a lot of these expectations and policies and procedures. And all of, all of this SOP and guidelines, as I mentioned, are established through a well-written employee handbook. Employee handbooks have saved many employers from legal ramifications over the years. And I can tell you, based on my experience, I can't tell you how many times I have been deposed on behalf of my employer as their, VP of HR, Director of HR, where the handbook, where a properly written handbook following the SOP and being consistent has saved those companies from legal and financial trouble. So your employee handbook is going to be crucial to you as a employer and as a company. Writing, and a second step to that, again, I mentioned earlier, is making sure your second level managers and supervisors are following the employee handbook when it comes to dealing with their team. Now, I do want to bring up something because I've seen this through working with clients. Some of them don't have a handbook, and some of them don't have an updated handbook. Some of them, their handbook hasn't been updated since 2015. Well, here's a rule of thumb for you as a business owner you need to have. Almost every January and every July, the Labor Department comes up with a new update when it comes to employment, whether it's a minimum wage increase or a new safety standard or COVID standards. There's always an update that has to be done to your employee handbook. And it is your responsibility, it's your legal responsibility as the owner to make sure your employee handbook is updated on an annual basis, sometimes every 6 months. So writing and updating of employee handbooks has been a highly successful service of HRWise. I personally do them myself, and we can offer you that as well if you need that, if you need us to look at your employee handbook and update it. All right, almost done, guys. Hang with me here. You know, all this information is great, but if you don't have a standardized process, the process that you use across your departments or divisions or locations, then you're not following a consistent practice. And that's where legal issues come up. So standardizing your job descriptions, standardizing your screening process, and even standardizing your hiring process, not only will it be efficient for you to run your business, but it's also going to create that fair and consistent process that you know, the legal system will not question, as long as you are following it consistently. So standardizing your job description, as part of standardizing your onboarding process, you should create a standardized format for your job descriptions and job ads to ensure they contain all the critical information, including working hours, place of work, salary. You know, salary is not pertinent, but if you're going to include a salary, you want to make sure you include it on all job postings or don't include them at all. Main tasks, you know, benefits, and describe the role, and be, you know, don't be so cumbersome with the information, but you want to provide enough bullet points for the applicant to understand what the role is and whether they qualify or not. Sorry, excuse me. Standardizing your applicant screening process. Once your applications start coming in, I'm sorry, I do want to bring up a point about standardizing your job posts and job descriptions. This is going to be part of the branding that I referred to earlier. So that's another important aspect of the standardization of your job postings and job descriptions that you post online. Standardizing your screening process. Once your applications start coming in for the job post that you created, now it's time to narrow down your candidate pool, right? You don't want to talk to all, you know, 50 that apply for the same job. So how do you narrow down your candidate pool? You could do that by creating a short list, you know, and hold interviews. You know, shortlisting candidates can be a time-consuming and challenging process, so standardizing it as much as possible will save you time. Each role will have a slightly different requirements, obviously, right? But a standardized system will help you hire the best person for that job. So shortlisting candidates can include you know, keyword searches on the resumes that's matching keywords you have on your job posting. Keywords such as web design, right? I'm just thinking off of the top of my head here, but if web design is one of the keywords you have on your job description, you can easily search resumes that have that keyword as well. That will reduce your time in reviewing resumes that do not match what you're looking for. Once you put together a short list of candidates who meet your criteria, now it's time to set up interviews. We won't dive deeply into the interviewing process here because of time. However, you should make sure that you are using the same set of questions and scoring criteria if you're scoring for each candidate. The onboarding process begins once you've chosen your favorite candidate and they've accepted the job offer. Now, using the same set of criteria, we all know there's legal standards in interviewing. There's questions you cannot ask. There's questions that if you reword them, you know, differently, you can't ask them. So this is the legal aspect here of using hiring practices to your advantage. But it can also be to your disadvantage. So please keep that in mind. There are many benefits to standardizing your hiring process, including protecting your company from potential discrimination, right, and unfair hiring practice lawsuits. Be sure you follow the same process for everyone you hire. This includes, the job offer letters. If you're, if you're offering one person an offer letter, do offer letters for everybody. Contingent job offers based on drug tests. If you're drug testing one person, you need to be drug testing all of your new hires. Criminal background checks. Pay equity is a big one too, and it's a whole topic by itself. But these are the things that you want to make sure if you're doing it for one candidate, you're doing it for all candidates, so that you're not facing any discrimination or unfair hiring practices. I just want to, I just threw a ton of information at you, and I really appreciate you taking the time to listen and hopefully walk away with a better understanding of what it takes to effectively recruit, onboard, retain, and stay compliant. HRWise has been in this business for many, many years, and we have a very high level of experienced individuals on hand who can help you in any aspect of HR and payroll function. So please feel free to give us a call or look us up on our webpage. And thank you so much for your time. Is there any questions?
Thank you so much, Marwa. It looks like we just have one additional question. Says here, would you recommend an employee handbook before doing any hiring?
Absolutely. The employee handbook is one of the things that you should be covering during your new hire orientation. And there should be an acknowledgement form that the new hire signs, acknowledging that they received a copy of your handbook, and they acknowledge that they are responsible in following these rules and policies you have in there. Now, employee handbook is not gonna be all inclusive. There's no way you could have an employee handbook that covers every single policy and procedure you have within your organization, but it will include all the pertinent basic things, right? Like attendance, work performance expectations, dress code, meals and breaks, your benefits that you offer, paid time off. Back in April, we had to add in all the employee handbooks a section about COVID sick time. So yes, I definitely recommend and highly encourage you to have an employee handbook before hiring anybody, because it needs to be part of your onboarding and training of these new hires.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Marwa, Greg, and Derek for the wonderful presentation today. We'll share more information, contact information for HRWise in our post-event email today. But if you have any additional questions, we'll answer those, as we get them after the webinar. Once again, on behalf of the Hispanic Chamber, thank you so much, and hope everyone had a great rest of your day. Just make sure to be on the lookout for more information on our next session, which is going to be in December. It'll be the first week of December, December 10th. So we'll be sending more information on that. And like we mentioned, if you have any questions, let us know. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Thank you.